Guys, in this video, we are going to talk about um, proportions. So before we do that, we need to learn and remember some terms you learned from earlier grades. The first one is ratios. So ratios are when you compare two quantities and both have the same unit, 3 centimeters, 4 centimeters, or $1 to $5. I mean, you could be comparing two different things. For example, you could be comparing a chocolate bar that is $1 to another chocolate bar that is $5. Or you could be comparing two lengths of, say, erasers, 3 centimeters to 4 centimeters. We know that one of them is a ratio 4. The other one is to the same as ratio 3 to 4. Okay. Now the word rate is comparing two quantities, but this time we are comparing two quantities with two different units. So in the first case, it's 2 centimeters. The other part of the ratio is 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters to 1 centimeter. Notice that the units are different. 2 to 3 is the equivalent of 6 to 9. And how do we know that they're equivalent? Because when you take 2, you have to multiply the 2 by a 3 to get a 6. And if you do the same thing to 3 times 3 is 9. So we have the same number that we multiply with to get the equivalent ratios. Also remember that you can divide by the same number to get equivalent ratios as well. The equivalent ratios now can also be written as fractions. So 2 over 3 equals 6 over 9. So you can write it in this ratio form, or you can write it in the fraction form. Going to our first example here, solve for x. Notice that these are ratios, but written in fraction form. So how do we solve that? First thing we do is we ask ourselves, now the number 24 on the right side here, this is bigger than the 4. And so what should we do to the 4 to get 24? So we say we have to multiply this by a 6 to get that. So that means to find the x, we have to multiply the top by the same number. So 1 times 6 is 6. So the answer is x equals 6. So this is one way of solving this problem. There is a second way of solving this problem. So if I have 1 over 4 equals x over 24, I realize that the 24 is dividing the x. So all I need to do is multiply both sides by 24. And something interesting happens. Here, 24 times 1 is 24. And I still have the 4 here. And on the right side, cancel, cancel. So I have this. So 24 divided by 4, that should give you 6, and x equals 6. So get used to doing these problems both ways. In fact, the second method is a bit more powerful than the first method. The second example here, what you realize is to find the x, we need to find out what should you do to the 27 to get the 3. You need to divide the 27 by 9 to get the 3. So do the same thing on top. Divide the 18 by 9 to get the x, and the answer is x equals 2. You can do the same thing by the previous method, the second method we learned in the previous example. So if you have x equals 3, 18 over 27. So what I do now is the x is being divided by the 3. So to get rid of this division, I have to multiply by 3. And what I do on one side, I have to do on the other side. Cancel, cancel. So I have x equals 18 times 3 divided by 27. 18 times 3 divided by 27 in my calculator is 2. Third example, to compare the third example with the second example, what you notice is, in the second example, the unknown x is on top. Here, the unknown x is not in the numerator, but it is in the denominator. But it can pretty much work the same way as before. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the x to the numerator first. So to do that, take the x up and bring the 2 down. So basically you are flipping the fraction. And when you flip the fraction on the left side, you have to flip the fraction on the right side. So that would be 30 over 10. Oh, sorry, I copied this wrong. So that should be x over 2 when we flip it. So we can follow the same technique as the previous example. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply both sides by 2, like that. 2 and 2 cancel, and x equals 6. And notice again, you could have solved it the other way as well. So let's go back to do that. To get the 10 from the 2, I have to times to get the 2 from the 10, I have to divide by the 5. And I have to do the same thing for the bottom, divide by 5. So x is 30 divided by 5, which is 6. So pretty much you can follow one or the other example. In the last example we have here, you don't always get decimal answers. You don't always get whole number answers for the problems, and sometimes you get decimal answers. And so how do we handle that? First, x is in the denominator, so flip it. So you should get x over 3. What you do on one side, you have to do on the other side. 7 over 5. And now multiply both sides by 3. Why do we do that? We want to get rid of the division of 3. That's why we do that. So we have x equals, in this case, it is 7 times 3 divided by 5. And your answer is a decimal. And that's okay. Right. I know I said that was the last examples for those kind of problems. And here's one example for you for a word problem. Suppose you make $170 working for 10 hours. Now the question is, how much money will you make if you work for 7 hours? So money equal to what in 7 hours? So let's set up the ratio. Money is the unknown x, so that is the x value, so x over 7, and write the money on the other side, 170, and put the time on the bottom. So money, hours, and the x is money. So we solve it exactly the same way as we did before. The 7 is in the denominator, so you multiply 7 on both sides, cancel. X equals 170 multiplied by a 7 and divide by a 10, and you have $119. See you in the next video.